Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for another episode of Data Dialogues. I'm Julian Redmond, General Manager at Certus Insight. For today's episode, I have a very special guest, Vincent McBurney, who's an information architect at MLC Life Insurance. But more importantly, he was a colleague of mine at Certus for over 10 years. Vincent has over 20 years of experience in information management and was a Data Vault 2.0 trainer while he was at Certus. Today he's going to talk a little bit about his journey at MLC, the essential steps that they've taken to deploy Data Vault 2.0, disciplined Agile practices and how they're implemented in a real-world environment, and some of the lessons he's learned over his long career. As you can see, there's a lot to cover, so let's get on with it. Hey, Vincent, thanks for joining. Maybe you could just tell us a bit about MLC and your role there.
Yeah, so MLC Life Insurance is a company that split off from NatBank and currently sells a range of life insurance products and superannuation products. And I joined them as an information architect in the data and analytics team. And my role is to try and define an architecture for reporting and analytics across the organization that's starting to use some of the cutting edge in data and analytics. And I work under the data team and with the enterprise architecture team on fleshing out solutions that's going to help MLC find insight from their data.
Yeah, very cool. So maybe we should talk about your journey to MLC and your experience with Data Vault. So do you want to maybe give us a rundown on, just very quickly, on the last 20 years maybe?
Yeah, so I stumbled across Data Vault about 12 years ago when I was looking at a way of building a data warehouse that had a third normal form data layer in it and a whole lot of information marts. I couldn't find a very good definition of that data layer in any of the books. And I came across Data Vault, which defined it using hubs, links, and satellites, and a pattern-based approach to designing and storing that data. And I really liked the simplicity of Data Vault back then. And it had a set of rules that I could follow. And that allowed me to design this entire enterprise data layer. And then on top of that, we built data marts and reports. But I thought it was quite successful at that time in bringing data from three main business systems together using a single data warehouse team in under a year and letting us focus our time on building very good marts and reports without spending all of our time and effort designing and building an enterprise data layer based on somebody else's idea of the model. So ever since then, I thought Data Vault was the easiest way to connect data and to create an enterprise data warehouse. And I've been pushing and promoting it for years. And several years ago, I had the chance to become a Data Vault trainer. I spent time with Dan Lindstedt, the inventor of Data Vault. And I did my the trainer certification. And I spent a couple of years running Data Vault training courses. And I loved it. I loved it so much. I took on this information architecture role because it let me spend most of my time designing and building a Data Vault.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess you get to experience owning a data warehouse now rather than just building them for other people, which would be pretty cool. So let's think about maybe what are the priorities you see as being essential to getting started with a Data Vault?
Well, the main priority is working out what it is you're actually building and fundamentally understanding what a Data Vault is. I spent a lot of time in classes explaining it's the delivery of products to the users. It's the delivery of a report to a line manager. It's delivery of analytics. It's delivery of entire marts. But at the end of the day, you're delivering insight products. And Data Vault gives you an assembly line for accelerating the delivery of those products. But the Data Vault itself isn't the product. The Data Vault methodology isn't the product. You're not an architecture delivery team. You're an insight delivery team. So as long as you know that you're using Data Vault to accelerate the ingestion and connection of your data, and you're spending your time and effort building insight on top of that, building interesting reports, interesting data visualizations, as long as you're focused on delivering products to the end users, you can have a successful result with the Data Vault. If you spend your time and money implementing the Data Vault and getting the architecture right and getting the model right, and you haven't delivered any insight products, then you're a project at risk, you're a platform at risk. You have to focus on exceeding the expectations of your end users by delivering good products.
So yeah, I think we've both experienced people that have tried to build a data vault and bring all source data into the raw vault layer before even really thinking about business vault and information mart. So you'd suggest don't do that and start delivering reports quickly?
Well, yeah, and often the champions initiate the data vault are the architects, ETL developers and modelers. So they're very excited about this standard and having a really good framework to load the vault and to reconcile the vault. And they forget about who they're building it for. They forget about the data visualization side and the speed of delivery that you get from Agile methods, where you're looking to deliver products to those users, get feedback from them. So the average business user doesn't care, doesn't want to provide feedback on your architecture or your raw vault model. They want to provide feedback on the data visualizations. So as long as you're not getting overexcited over the platform and you're delivering a product, you should be okay.
So then, yeah, it's focused on getting results in front of the business quickly. So did you have to modify for your current project maybe or one that you've done in the past, did you have to modify processes or practices or even the data vault methodology to try and fit in with what the business was doing? How do you negotiate that?
Well, we had to start out by saying data vault was a cost takeout that we needed to use to bring the data together. The business already knew that the data was in disparate systems and it was quite expensive and time consuming to connect it together. They already knew that on previous warehouse attempts that had been time consuming to bring it together and create a single model. They'd seen problems with that at MLC and at other organizations. So they were wary of this enterprise data warehouse approach. So the first step was showing them we can have a raw vault layer and we can automate it so that it's actually a cost takeout. Instead of spending X number of dollars, we can take out as much as $50,000 a month on our normal data wrangling costs and our normal data modeling and data integration costs by automating a lot of that through data vault automation. And then we explained the business vault. We said your raw vault, which is highly automated, is going to bring the data and connect it together. The business vault is where we're going to add a lot of business value and create what you consider to be the single view of truth for your important conformed data and important critical performance indicators. And we can deliver that a lot faster than we've done it previously, or that you could do it any other way using automation. So you can either go with this data vault with higher level automation, or we can try and do it another way, and it would take 3 times as long and cost 3 times as much. So in the end, it kind of made sense that this was a cost takeout exercise. We had to deliver a single view of truth. Our industry regulator demands that we do, and this became the easiest way to build that single view.
So maybe from a business perspective, speed is the goal and automation and data vault are the method to get that speed to happen.
Well, there's speed and there's quality. They require speed of delivery on data coming in and being ingested, but they also require quality because some of the data gets used in reports to industry regulators or get surfaced up to the board level as critical performance indicators. So you have to have it. You have to have it both ways. You have to be able to deliver quickly, but you also have to know that what you're incrementally building has quality at an enterprise level, creates an enterprise version of the truth. So that the trick to that is to spend the money on the uplift of data and not spend the money wrangling, just simply bringing the data into the platform. So by making it easy to bring data in, we had more time and money to spend on improving that data and creating high-value reports.
So maybe the speed of a lake with the governance of a warehouse, something like that.
I think that's why a lot of companies try out data lakes. They think it's going to let them get to the data faster. But of course, as we all know, that just ends up becoming a data swamp. So they want the concept of a lake where data can be brought onto the platform very quickly, but also some of the rigor of the old traditional data warehousing where you could trust what you saw and you can build a single view of truth.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously, quick reports are good, but quick reports you can trust the better. So.
Yeah.
So thinking about how disciplined Agile is built into the data vault methodology, how does that actually play out now that you're building your own warehouse to manage? How does working with disciplined agile work in real life?
Well, it's helped us estimate quite accurately the ingestion of data on the platform. We can work out how much time and how much cost there is to onboarding a new system and getting into the raw vault, because everything can be expanded out through the automation tool. You can know X number of hours per table or per column. And then with the disciplined agile complexity ratings, you can kind of work out which area is going to be more complex and give them extra time and extra effort on those areas. So we've got a high degree of certainty on how we bring data into the platform, get it into a raw vault. On the business vault, we're using the disciplined agile techniques of reviewing how we're doing and getting a better understanding of how to estimate complex work like building a MART and building a dashboard and a set of drill down reports. We're using the iterations and the learning from each iteration to refine our estimation model, so we can deliver more quickly, and then we can improve with each sprint on what we deliver, and we can become better at estimating the effort for bringing in new systems or delivering new analytics.
And what about maybe responding quickly to changing needs? Have you experienced that where something crops up as an emergency or a business issue that needs data fast?
So we want to be able to compare well against shadow data systems. We do want to be able to see a new reporting requirement like a COVID dashboard, and we want to be able to deliver that in a sprint. So in order to do that, we have to have a squad which can deliver each part of the solution from end to end and be fully focused on it and working together in that sprint to deliver data from a new source all the way through to a new report in one single sprint. Sometimes the complexity is greater and it requires a number of weeks of business analysis. That's something that happens in financial reporting quite a lot. But once we get to building, once we know what it is we're building, what the business wants, we have that accelerated delivery, so we can take the data from source all the way through to the endpoint, the delivery layer, and send it out in a report very quickly.
Yeah, that's great. So you've made a good start with the Iris platform and getting things moving. Realistically, how far out can you see your roadmap extending at this point?
We'll be building this platform out for years. We can see right now that our initial sprint was to get data vault automation running and have a populated raw vault with the beginnings of a business vault. We had a business vault pilot, several party tables. Now we want to build out that enterprise model, which involves more master data objects and involves more source systems and bringing in more business units onto the platform. So we have a repeatable process of ingesting data and expanding a new subject area, and we're just going to roll through that. We'll be doing this, I think, for a number of years.
Yeah, and that'll build on itself, obviously. You'll have data in the warehouse to use. You bring in new sources. Does it change the way you talk to the business with when you can estimate being more reactive and a lot faster?
Yeah, we've certainly changed around our estimation model so that we can say that we can start delivering things in the first couple of sprints. And we used to have to say that, it could take 6 weeks before we can start building our model or populating our model. But now we can deliver almost straight away. As long as we can get access to the data, we can bring it into the raw vault straight away and at least build a prototype report or prototype MART. So we're a lot more confident about going to the business saying we can start delivering you something in the first couple of sprints. And
maybe a slight tangent, but obviously you're in a financial services organisation, so it's regulated. What about the governance aspects? How important is things like lineage and a well-maintained glossary to being able to support those new artifacts?
Well, we like the idea that we've got a before and an after image of all our data. So the raw vault gives us a before image. It lets us track through time series every record we ever receive into the warehouse, every copy of that record and how it changes over time. So we know that we can reconcile what we saw when we produce a report. We then can compare our raw vault data to our business vault, where we're creating our complex transformations. We're trying to clean up our data and we're trying to create a single view of master data, and we're trying to run some fairly complex financial calculations and risk calculations, but at least we can go through our testing and compare the before and after data and see how we got to that result and see what potential records we missed or what records we overcounted. But we do have a fairly good way for test teams to reconcile the data now.
Yeah, it's great. I think how Vault doesn't just give you a way to model, but it actually gives you a process to follow for all aspects of the development and then the ongoing. So, I mean, to probably wrap up, is there any advice that you would give someone who's starting on this journey around how they actually, get their business case up and engage with the business and get things rolling?
Yeah, I'd say you need someone who can explain what Data Vault actually is to the business user, how it's not necessarily all about the modeling rules and the architecture. It is a way of building something of lasting value and spending money and time on things that are valuable back to that business user. So that usually requires explaining how a Data Vault automation framework is going to take out a huge amount of cost and should be your first step instead of trying to build it yourself. And then understanding how the business user helps the business units. How the business vault helps the business units. The business vault ends up being the expanding information assets that let you run code once and reuse it across the organization many times. A single view of the truth for important measures, for important master data, for important calculations. And by doing it once and storing it there, you're taking out a lot of the redundant IT spend that's currently going on, where you're wrangling the same data in 10 or 12 places every year. So by explaining what we're trying to build and what belongs in each layer, what belongs in Raw Vault, Business Vault, Delivery Layer, Reports Analytics, we were able to get the business users understanding that this was the best way to bring the data together and that it would give them trusted insight, trusted reports more quickly than the ways they were doing it previously in departmental marts.
So does that change your squad? Do you have a business user looking at the visualization as part of the core squad as you're developing these assets?
We think it's very important to have a product owner from the beginning and being in the stand-ups and being part of the squad so that they can get excited about what's being built for them and they can give us constant feedback on how we link the data together and how we improve the data and how we deliver reports. So we do like having a business owner who helps us make the important business decisions all the way through from start to end.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's great. I think really good insights. And look, thanks for joining today. I really appreciate your time. I think you guys are doing a great job, and it's a really cool project. We're really happy to be part of it, and it's nice to chat again. So thanks for joining.
Thanks, Julian. Yeah, it's been good to chat.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to access additional resources on today's topic, be notified when new episodes of Data Dialogues go live, and access valuable information management resources and news, head over to certasolutions.com/data dialogues or follow the link in the description. I hope you'll join me on the next episode.